Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Richard Rosser from B4. Welcome to B4 Live. And this afternoon we have Vincent Seddon of TBAT. Vincent, are you there?
Hi, Richard.
Good to see you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad, thanks, Vincent. Not too bad. End of another busy week for us. How's things for you? Are you equally busy?
Exactly the same. Yes, extremely busy.
Yeah. Have you noticed an increase in business, or much the same as it's been before, or how have things been generally?
Yeah, we have. I think the two pillars of support that we offer with the grant funding and the R&D, which we'll talk more about today, is extremely important for people whilst we're in this current crisis at the moment. So yeah, we're supporting a huge amount of people.
And the team's operating well remotely?
We are, yes. Everybody's working from home. Everybody is currently in work. So we have a workforce of just under 30, spread mainly across the north of the country and also throughout Oxford as well.
Yeah, because your base is Derby Way, isn't it, I think? Is that right?
Yes, just behind the East Midlands Airport is our head office.
So particularly quiet, well, in both places at the moment. So anyway, over to you. So you're going to show your screen. Just a note for everybody, if you have any questions for Vincent, I'll be monitoring the chat. So please do put your questions in there. And if it's relevant to ask, well, obviously it will be relevant, but if I can spot an opening to ask Vincent your question during the presentation, I'll do so. Otherwise, we'll leave it to the end, and it'll be great to get you on camera to ask your question direct to Vincent. So over to you, Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Great opportunity as part of the B4 network to be able to talk to you more about research and development. Little introduction from myself, Vincent Seddon from TBAT Innovation. We help and support businesses in accessing R&D funding and also claiming back R&D tax relief throughout a project that businesses might be working on. We cover the whole of the UK from our Derby office and also our Oxford office. Today, I'll be talking around how you can access R&D tax relief and also be touching upon some funding that might be available for you guys moving forward as well. So we'll touch upon that landscape as well. But in terms of today, we'll focus very much on the R&D side of things. So research and development tax relief. Hopefully what I'll do today is bring that to life so that you can understand exactly what that means and who is eligible to claim that. So the few areas that we'll be focusing on is how you can claim it, how you can maximise it, how you can review previous claims that may have been made, and how you can exchange extended losses to cash payments. We'll touch upon all of those areas as we go through today. And as Richard mentioned, if you have got some questions, please do pop them through to us. And if we can answer those, we will. If not, there will be the availability to catch up with me or one of my colleagues after today.
So jump in there, Vincent, just quickly, just to say we'll be sending out this video and your presentation afterwards to everybody. So, so please rest assured that'll be out to you shortly.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So in terms of R&D tax credits, what are they? So R&D tax is something that the HMRC have implemented quite some time ago now as an incentive for businesses who are innovating. So if you are looking to bring together a new, innovative and novel idea that has a commercial benefit, whether that's within your own business or whether that is something that you are doing absolutely brand new to be able to commercialize as a separate product line, there is an opportunity to claim some relief back. And it's the way of the government rewarding businesses for taking the risk that might be involved when producing something that is brand new and perhaps hasn't been done before. So it's not just restricted to what some people would perceive research and development to be just around science and tech. It's very much a broad opportunity for businesses to have a look into this scheme and see if they are eligible to claim back some R&D. So let's have a look at what that looks like and what schemes are available. So within the current schemes at the moment, there are two. One which is called the SME scheme and one which is called the RDEC scheme. The easiest way to understand the difference is one is for businesses that with less than 500 employees or less than 100 million turnover, and the other one is for businesses above that. So very much the SME is for SME businesses and RDEC is for larger businesses. The only time that would differ is if a SME business has had some sort of grant funding that has been provided to do some research and development within the business. You would use one of those schemes or both. So SME for the funds that have come through the business that have not been grant funded, and the RDEC scheme for those funds that have. So we may be able to look at using a blend of both of those. The main differences in terms of what that looks like from a financial benefit is that the SME scheme, you are likely to get more back in terms of the return. So businesses who are operating within that scheme under 500 employees and less than 100 million turnover are eligible to claim up to 33 pence of every pound that has been spent on research and development within that business. So if you are a loss-making business, 33 pence from the pound, or a profit-making business, you're looking at about 25 pence from every pound spent as well. So it's quite a sizable amount that you are eligible to claim back in terms of that relief, and you are able to claim back up to 2 full financial years as well. So if you haven't claimed and you're listening to this presentation at the moment, don't worry, because you can go back up to those 2 full financial years. So if you're partway through one at the moment, you can go back the previous 2. From an RDEC point of view, the main difference is the amount that you're likely to receive back in terms of a benefit. So as you can see on the screen there, you're looking at about £10.50 from every £100. So if you are receiving some grant funding and you are claiming back the R&D work that you've done within the business, you are eligible to claim back relief on the grant fund as well. So it's a double win for businesses in that area. So those are the 2 schemes, SME scheme and RDEC scheme. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of what they look like. We will be able to bring that to life for any businesses looking to see if they are eligible. So how does it work? We'll focus mainly on the SME scheme today, because I think mainly this scheme will be useful for anybody listening to this call today. So what happens, just gone forward. What happens here is we look at the funds that have gone through the end of year accounts that you would be using to submit to HMRC. So a very, very brief breakdown here. We can see what it looks like with no R&D claim and what it looks like with an R&D claim. So as you can see, turnover remains the same, the costs remain the same. We've got the R&D costs within the business here and the net profit of 30,000. So in order to take that out of the R&D expenditure, you are eligible to times your R&D spend by 130% to uplift that. In terms of that number, that's what's been set by the HMRC, so we're not really sure why it's 130%, but that's what the number that we work to. So as you can see here, we've uplifted the R&D cost to 26,000 and removed that from the figures, which now shows the new net profit for tax purposes as £4,000. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, the benefit to the client would then be 4,940 of the R&D costs at 24.7%, which is the percentage of a profit-making business. So this is the return that that business would get out of their tax. So as you can see, it can be quite a sizable amount based on those numbers that we have in front of us. So it's definitely worth checking if you as a business are eligible to claim those funds back. So the timescale in terms of an SME claim, as we said, you can claim for the current year that you're in at the moment, but also more importantly, the previous 2 years that you may have been conducting R&D within the business. So there is a cut-off for each claim. So if you are coming towards the end of your financial year now, and you haven't made a claim for the previous 2, then you would need to do that submission very quickly before your year end, because you will lose the second full year if you go past your current year end date, as shown here on the timeline. One question we had...
sorry, you got it, sorry.
Oh no, I haven't seen the question from this.
Sorry, no, it was just a quick question. What's deemed R&D by our HMRC?
So we'll get to that as we go through the remainder of the slides today. But to answer the question immediately, it's really any innovation that has been conducted within a business that has had a benefit that they couldn't potentially have bought off the shelf. That's a very high level overview, but we'll go through that in a little bit more detail as we move through. So in terms of the timeline, one of the questions that we've been asked previously is about employees that perhaps have been furloughed within the current crisis that we find ourselves in. So that will impact eligible expenditure claims in terms of workforce, because if the employees are furloughed, then they are obviously not performing R&D within their role. So it will impact this year's claim based on the amounts eligible to claim back, but previous 2 years it won't impact because they will have been conducting R&D within the business and via PAYE. So that's the timeline. In terms of any urgencies, the current year end would be something to focus on if you're coming to the end of that. Don't panic if you are. We'll be able to help in terms of formulating those figures for your R&D claim. So to answer the question we've just had in a little bit more detail, this is the definition of what HMRC perceive R&D to be. So activities that seek to achieve an advance in overall knowledge or capability in the field of science or technology and resolve scientific or technical uncertainty. So it's not just about the lab coats when we look at this. When you read that, it kind of makes you think it's got to be something extremely science and tech. It just needs to have an element of that. And an element of uncertainty and risk so that you are required to do some research and development, because at the end of the day, the relief that's being provided is for research and development work carried out in the business. So there does need to be an element of risk and uncertainty involved, and of course, innovation. So that is the official term of what is R&D from the HMRC perspective. However, it doesn't have to be entirely under that umbrella. So, in terms of what can be claimed, these are the main areas that people can claim R&D relief for. So, staff expenditure is, as always, the biggest expenditure for a business, and this is always normally the biggest relief that is able to be returned as part of R&D tax relief. So this covers in the staff expenditure, PAYE staff. So they do have to be on the payroll, and you cannot claim for dividends. So if somebody is conducting R&D within the business and they're being paid by dividend and PAYE, it's only the PAYE for that individual that can be claimed back. The dividend is not something that is eligible to be claimed. But you can claim 100% of the employee's cost to the business if they are being paid via PAYE. And there would be a percentage of that person's time that is spent on R&D, and that would then be the eligible cost that you can look to claim back. So if they're doing 80% of their working week on R&D, that is the amount that we would include within the claim through to HMRC. You can also claim for subcontracted expenditure. So if you are conducting something and trying to achieve something, but you don't have the in-house capability to do that. So for example, if you are creating a new platform within your business to manage the workflow and understand where your employees are and provide to them a way of working virtually that cannot be bought off the shelf, and you have had to build that for your company, but through a subcontractor, you can claim a percentage of their bill through R&D tax as an eligible cost. They can also claim some of that as well through the large company scheme. But more importantly for you, if that is something that you have incurred in the last couple of years, you can claim that back as an eligible cost. You can also claim for what the HMRC calls externally provided workers. So if you've had people working within your business that have been provided by an agency, so temporary contractors, to help you develop something and complete a project that has been within innovation, then you can claim back their cost as well via the EPW eligible expenditure as well. You can also claim back for software that's been purchased in order to help deliver something within the business, and any materials. So if you have been looking to create something and do some prototyping and purchase some materials to create something, or have a go at creating something within your project, that is an eligible cost within R&D tax relief as well. And sometimes the materials cost can be quite sizable if you are creating a product that has a physical presence. So it does cover quite a lot of expenditure that might be incurred within R&D. So definitely worth a look at that. And the staff expenditure is probably going to be the biggest cost and the most important thing to look at within the R&D side of things, followed by the other expenditures that are eligible. So that's a high-level overview. There are other eligible costs that could potentially be brought into a claim. All of those things can be discussed on a case-by-case basis to see if that is something that you can claim or not claim. So HMR information that we've extracted shows that they believe only, up to 75% of businesses eligible to claim haven't claimed. So that's a huge amount of businesses conducting R&D that are eligible to claim back haven't done so. So there's a huge amount of businesses there that could potentially have a cash injection into their business at the moment, whilst cash flow is probably quite tight, to be able to help them move forward. So in terms of that opportunity, to give you an idea, on submission of an R&D tax relief claim through to HMRC, they're taking around 4 weeks to process that, and around the 6-week mark for you to receive the payout. So it's a very quick way of receiving the relief back into the business and moving forward and using that as a bit of an investment. And as you can see here, the average SME claim that's claimed back from HMRC is around £50,000, which is a huge amount, and I'm sure is something that could definitely be used to help businesses move forward at the moment. So huge opportunity out there. So if you've got people that you work with or businesses that you can think of that might possibly be eligible, we'd love to speak to them. We're really trying to educate as many businesses as possible that this is an opportunity for them to utilise moving forward. So when can SMEs also use the RDEX scheme? So we touched upon this briefly before. This is mainly when a business has received grant funding. So the grant fund applied to the business is taken out, worked through the RDEX scheme. You can claim around 10% relief on top of that, and the rest of the funds in the business via the SME scheme, which is up to 33% if you are a loss maker. And this can also be used for businesses who are conducting R&D work on behalf of others. So if you are the subcontractor, you can also claim for a percentage of that back within your end of year account. So most of the time people will think that they're not eligible because they've done the work on behalf of the client and they have claimed the R&D. You can also claim that yourself as well if you are the design agency or the project manager of that innovation. That can also be claimed. So opportunities at the moment then, whilst we're currently moving through very uncertain times, we are recommending that businesses don't delay with submitting their end of year accounts. So for example, if your end of year accounts were at the end of April, you would probably be thinking over the next 9 months, we need to get in touch with the accountant to submit those accounts within that time scale. So that's a huge amount of time over the next 9 months that you could be utilising to get some funds back into the business. So we're really trying to encourage businesses that if you are at the end of your financial year, don't delay, get your end of year accounts into your accountant as early as possible, and also have a look at your eligibility for R&D tax relief, because you may be able to get that back within the next 6 weeks to reinvest into your business. So as you can see here on the time scale, that could potentially bring that forward and mean that you've got cash in the pot to move forward and utilise within the business. The other opportunity that we're seeing businesses utilise at the moment is shortening year ends. So if you are coming up to your year end in the next 3 months and you're thinking, well, I could really do with submitting that so that we can utilise the R&D back into the business, then you can shorten your financial year by 3 months, which means that you would be able to get that investment from HMRC for the R&D work back into your business up to 14 months earlier than what you perhaps would have done using the standard timelines and also submitting your end of year accounts within that 9-month period. So if you have got the opportunity to do that and you would like to shorten your year end, it's definitely something that is worth doing if you've got some eligible R&D expenditure within that financial year to claim back. It just means that you get access to that earlier than you potentially would have done before. For those of you listening to this presentation today that perhaps are already doing R&D claims within your business, we would definitely recommend having a look back over the last couple of years to see if there is any way that you can maximise those claims. And what we find is that a number of businesses have submitted R&D claims through their accountant or through a mainstream R&D support company, and perhaps haven't got 100% back of what they're entitled to. So we offer a service where you can have a look at that and see if there is any more R&D that can potentially be claimed back. And sometimes we can find that there's double the amount that can be claimed back because we look for more eligible R&D that can potentially be claimed within those financial years. So it's definitely worth having a look at and sitting down and reviewing based on the eligibility that we've shown you today. And that does give you the opportunity to see the 100% eligible to claim back. So hopefully that gives you an overview in terms of what is research and development tax relief, how you can claim that back, and what the HMRC perceive to be eligible, and some hints and tips around how you can potentially get access to that a little bit earlier than you perhaps would have done before. Just very quickly, other support that we have available is around grant funding. So this slide gives you an overview of what is available at the moment in terms of grant funding. So if you are looking to attract some funding to help and support an R&D project that you're perhaps working on at the moment, there is definitely funding available. Most of the funding that we support is through the UK government's arm of funding, which is Innovate UK. There's a huge amount of opportunity to apply into those funding pots. And you don't have to be specifically involved with those titles that you see in front of you there. There is an opportunity called Innovate UK Smart Grants, and they are for businesses who are operating within innovation to apply into. It doesn't matter what your project is, as long as it's got some innovation wrapped around it and it's within the R&D space, you can look to apply into that funding pot and receive some grant funding for that work that you might be doing. If you are looking at that and thinking, oh, I'd like to have a little bit more of an idea of that, we'd be more than happy to show you what's available and give you an overview of what that looks like in terms of the process as well. So there's a little bit of information here in terms of TBAT. So we are available to help and support with claims that you might be looking to make. If that is the case, please do let us know. We'd be more than happy to help and support. And we also look to make relationships with partners as well. So if you are supporting businesses that are helping R&D and bringing some innovation in, we'd be more than happy to work very closely with you and your clients as well to help and support them. So hopefully that's given you an overview of all of those areas. This slide deck is normally delivered in an hour's time, so I've tried to slim that down for you. So if there's any questions that anybody has, please feel free to raise those now via Richard, or I'm more than happy to have some one-to-ones with anybody on the call today that would like to know a little bit more about R&D or the funding landscape.
Thank you, Vincent. That's really comprehensive, and thanks for compartmentalising it into a much smaller space of time. So I appreciate that. Stephen, yeah, you got a question for Vincent. If you'd like to come on camera.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Thank you very much, Vincent. That was very interesting. I'm not 100% sure whether or not a business like mine, which is a consultancy business, mainly working in tourism, retail, and hospitality, would qualify. And I just wanted to clarify, when the sort of criteria talk about advancing overall knowledge or capability in the field of science and tech, does that mean this is really for sort of science and tech businesses? Or, for example, if I were exploring developing a process for sort of capturing and analysing consumer insights, would that qualify? So I'm just trying to get a feel for whether this is about, you know, a particular sector, or all businesses might qualify.
Thank you, Stephen, for raising that. I think that's extremely valid. So to answer that question, it's not just science and tech. So the scenario that you have given there, if you were creating a platform to gather that information, then the expenditure that you have incurred to develop that platform, providing it was bespoke and innovative, and there was a little bit of risk attached to it, then that should be eligible expenditure within your business. What they wouldn't look to fund is the time spent to gather that information thereafter. So it's more about what you have developed within the business to be able to help you move forward, that would be eligible.
Excellent, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Stephen. Just one other question, Colin, Dad, are you there?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting, Vincent, thank you. I just wondered how much you charge for your involvement in all this.
Okay, so if we are supporting a business to claim back the R&D, we would charge it on a percentage of the success. So there's no upfront fee for any of our service around the R&D tax relief. It's very much on a success basis only. Okay,
thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Vincent. As Vincent said, he's got the information, his contact details there. And if anybody else would like to get in contact with Vincent, either take his details down now, or we'll provide those on an email later on today, or it might actually be Monday. We've got a bit of a backlog of videos, but it will be with you Monday at the latest. Thank you, Vincent, and for everybody for joining. We've just got a few closing screens just to run through very quickly. Just on the support that B4 is providing through the community support pages there that you can see on the red button. So TBAT have been sending us a lot of updates that we've been putting on the site, as have other B4 members. So you can see those, click on the buttons to expand the actual particular item. We've got the B4 live pages where you can register for forthcoming events. And then at the bottom of the page, you've got to be able to, you can view prior videos of all the talks. One left today, if anybody fancies a bit of speed networking. We've got 90 seconds for up to 20 B4 members to tell us about your business. It's a bit of fun to end off the week. And the best speed networker gets a bottle of something to help the weekend along. And then on Monday, we've got Lindsay Willett. For those of you that joined us at Bio last year, Lindsay's from Customer Thermometer. So anybody customer facing wants to get some good data back from their customers, it's really useful talk delivered by Lindsay on Monday. And then we've got Diane also on Monday, and then a whole host of talks next week. That'll be it for a while from B4 in terms of B4 Lives, until we've got Bio Live that you saw the advert for before Vincent's talk. So that's 2nd to 4th of June. So thank you again, Vincent, for joining us, and to everybody else for logging on. We look forward to seeing you soon. If we don't see you this evening, have a lovely, restful bank holiday weekend. Take care.